ready to print your spreadsheet, it's a good idea to go in and look at it in print preview before you waste the paper. Make sure it's going to print the way you want it to. So I'm going to go to print preview. On my screen I do have a print preview icon in my quick access toolbar, but in case you don't have it there, let's go see where we'd find it under the ribbon. So I go to File, I'm going to go into Backstage View, and I find that under Print. So I click on Print, and here's my print preview. Now in this case, I know my spreadsheet has more information than showing on this page, moving across the page. So I'm going to go back to Home so you can see this, and you'll see we're missing that total column, and you see the little dotted line. So I'm going to go back to Print Preview, File, and then Print. And what I want to do is make sure that fits on my page. Now I'm in Landscape Orientation. If you look under your print options, you have Landscape Orientation, which we definitely won't because Portrait would chop off a few more columns. And I do have down at the bottom no scaling. What I could do here is click on that and I can fit the sheet on one page. Now I have 14 pages right now, so it's probably not a good idea. But I can fit all columns on one page or all rows on one page. In this case, of course, columns make sense. So I'm going to click on that, and now I have all my columns there. And I'm going to come down into the print preview area, and it tells me I have page 1 of 7. And if I click the right arrow, you'll notice that I don't have my headers that I had on the first page. That's not hard to fix. I can add those headers to every page at the top of every page. So what I'm going to do is go into Page Setup. Now there's a couple of ways I can do this. They do have in Print Preview the Page Setup link here, but I want to show you where it is in the regular ribbon too. So I'm going to come up to my Page Layout ribbon, and you'll notice the group Page Setup is right here, and there's something called Print Titles. So I'll click on that, and my Page Setup dialog pops up, and I have the ability to repeat rows at top or columns at the left. It just depends on where your headings are. So I'm going to click right here and repeat rows at top, and click my selector over to the right, come out here and select the row I want to repeat at top, click the button to take me back into the dialog box, and now that is set up for me. I will click OK. And now we come back to Print Preview, and as I go to the different pages, you can see that those headers have carried over at the top of every page. The other thing you might want to do is create headers and footers. Now Excel calls our column headings headers, but we also have page headers and footers, which are in the margin at the top and at the bottom of the page. So I want to look at how to set that up too before I print. A couple of things I might want to do is put in a page number. I might want to put in an overall title to the printout. You might want to have your file path or a date attached to it. So I'm going to go over to my Insert ribbon, because this is where we find header and footer. And over to the far right we have a grouping called Text, and there is header and footer. So I'll click on header and footer, and notice that I go into more of a page layout view here where I see the page, and I have a highlighted box in the center of the top of my page. Now there are actually 3 boxes here. If I click, there's one that's on the left, there's one that's centered, and there's one that's on the right. The other thing you might want to notice is your cursor is active in a specific alignment in each one. The one on the right is right align, the one in the middle is center align, and the one on the left is left align. Now I can do several things to put in a header or footer. For one thing, if I wanted to, I could just type in a title here. The tab on my spreadsheet calls this data Promotion Sales, so I could just call this Promotion Sales. It's that simple. And I can format it just like you would anything else. I can highlight it and change the font size and so forth with that. The other thing I can do is I can actually go into my header and footer tools ribbon, which appears when I'm in the header and footer. We have a design tab for that, and there's the header and the footer there. If I click on the drop down, there's some default ones just built in. You can put in page number of so many pages, and so forth. Notice Promotion Sales was there. It picked up my sheet tab name. I could put various things. There's the file name, there's the file path, and so forth. So I could choose something here instead if I didn't want to use something that I typed in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the footer and use some of those default ones there. If you look up in your header and footer tools, there is in the navigation section one called Go to Footer. So I'm going to click on that. And down here it defaults to the right aligned footer. A lot of times we put a date or a page number on the bottom right. So that's why it's defaulting there. It's guessing where you want to go. So I'm going to come up here to footer. And I'm going to choose the page 1 of, it shows a question mark. There are, I believe, 7 pages in this. So it'll say page 1 of 7, page 2, and so forth. And notice it showed up in the centered section, which tells me that Excel has set their default for page 1 of how many pages to center. Maybe I want it there, maybe I don't. I'm going to take it out. I'll just press delete and take that out. I want mine over here on the right. So I'm going to come back up to my header and footer tools ribbon. And notice that there are header and footer elements in this ribbon also. And one of them is page number and one of them is number of pages. So I can set this up myself if I want to. And I would want the word page, so I'll type page, hit the space bar. Now one of the weird things is when you hit the space bar you will not see the space until you put in the first field. So I'm going to put in the page number field. And there it gives me the page number field. And then I'm going to hit space and type of, hit space again, and choose number of pages. And now I have that code over there. Other things I could have put in are current date, current time. I could put the file path in. In fact, I'm going to come over here in the footer on the left-hand side and put in the file path. Now that I've got my header and footer set, let's go back and look in Print Preview at our printout. So now here you can see the header, promotion sales. You can see my footer. Here's the file path. Here's my page 1 of 7. And as I go through, you can see various things. Now one of the things you may want to do with your header or footer is have something different on the first page. And then on the rest of the pages they have something else. I'm okay with what's showing up in my footer, but on my header I might prefer something show up differently on pages 2 through 7. So I'm going to go back into the header and footer. And notice up in the header and footer ribbon, I have a different first page checkbox. So I'm going to click on that. And my promotion sales disappeared. Now if I look at this, I'm going to just scroll down, because we can see the header and footer in this view. It's removed everything from the first page. One of the things you want to know is if you've set up your header and footer and then go back and choose a different first page, it's going to wipe out your first page. It's going to assume whatever you have you want on the rest of the pages. So let's say maybe I have a different title I want to put in here. Maybe I want to put in overall promotional sales. And that's going to be on the first page. Now if I go to my print preview, so I go back to the backstage view, file, and print. My first page says overall promotional sales. I don't have anything in the footer because a different first page. And if I click, now those other headers and footers I set up are showing up on the rest of the pages. There's a lot of things you can do with headers and footers. So I hope you go back and look at the header and footer ribbon and play with it a little bit. Find something that'll work best for you.